how digital audio works, we frame sampling and quantization as lies, ways that digital formats deviate from the continuous reality of sound waves. But perhaps we should view these not as flaws, but as ingenious trade-offs that enabled a revolution in how humans experience music. The engineers who developed digital audio in the 1970s and 80s faced an immense challenge. They needed to find a way to represent infinitely variable sound waves. The limitations of storage, processing power, and digital systems made capturing everything impossible. So they asked a different question. What aspects of sound matter most to human perception, and what can we safely discard? This shift in perspective transformed the problem. Instead of attempting perfect reproduction, a technical impossibility, they sought perceptual equivalence. Could they create digital sound that human ears would find indistinguishable from the original, even if the waveforms looked different under analysis? The science of psychoacoustics, how humans perceive sound, became central to this effort. Researchers discovered that our hearing has specific limitations and patterns. We're more sensitive to some frequencies than others. We can't hear phase differences in certain situations. Our perception of one sound can mask our ability to hear another. These insights provided a roadmap for what could be preserved and what could be approximated. The Nyquist theorem provided the first key insight. By sampling at twice the highest frequency humans can hear, we could theoretically capture all the frequencies relevant to our perception. This means that sampling at 44.1 kHz allowed the capture of frequencies up to 22.05 kHz, comfortably above human hearing limits of around 20 kHz. When you listen to a CD, you're experiencing sound with frequencies that span the entire range of what your ears can detect. Bit depth calculations followed similar thinking. Engineers determined that 16 bits provided approximately 96 dB of dynamic range, the difference between the quietest and loudest sounds the system could reproduce. This exceeded the range between the threshold of hearing and the threshold of pain in typical listening environments. The standard aligned with human perceptual limits to deliver emotionally impactful experiences. These decisions reflected a profound understanding that perfect technical reproduction might be less important than perceptual equivalence. By focusing on what humans can actually hear, rather what test equipment can measure, engineers created systems that use available resources efficiently while still delivering satisfying results. The history of digital audio reveals a series of calculated compromises. The compact disc 44.1 kHz 16-bit standard represented a balance point between quality and practicality when established in the 1980s. MP3 compression took this compromise further, using perceptual encoding to identify and discard sounds that would likely be masked by other, more prominent sounds in the recording. This reduced file sizes dramatically while maintaining subjective quality that many listeners found acceptable. What's remarkable is how well these compromises worked. The compact disc delivered sound quality that satisfied listeners for decades. MP3s enabled the portable digital music revolution. Streaming services built on these foundations now deliver music to billions of listeners worldwide. These technologies succeeded because their creators understood a profound truth. Perfect reproduction might be the wrong goal. The purpose of recorded music is to create an emotionally meaningful experience for the listener. Choosing between analog and digital formats is like choosing between oil painting and photography. Neither is inherently superior. They're different art forms with unique characteristics. Photography can capture precise details that painting cannot, while painting conveys emotion through brushstrokes and texture that photography might miss. Similarly, digital audio captures certain elements with remarkable precision, while analog formats preserve qualities like the continuous nature of sound waves that some listeners cherish. Digital audio preserves frequency response across the audible spectrum. Noise floors can be pushed below audibility. Timing precision can be maintained to microseconds. These achievements matter tremendously for some music and listening situations. Analog formats preserve other qualities, particular forms of distortion that some find pleasing, and a physical connection to the recording process. These characteristics might matter more for other musical styles or listening preferences. Both analog and digital formats deserve places in our musical lives. Understanding their differences allows us to choose the right tool for each listening situation rather than declaring one approach universally superior. I encourage you to experiment with different formats yourself. If you've never experienced vinyl, visit a friend who has a good turntable. If you've been streaming compressed audio, Try a high-resolution digital option. Compare the same recording across different formats and systems. Your personal preferences matter more than technical specifications. Why is the history of recording a story of beautiful technical compromises? Because engineers found ways to preserve what matters most while discarding what humans can't perceive. They balanced technical limitations against perceptual realities to create systems that deliver meaningful musical experiences. Now that you understand what's really happening in your headphones, what will you listen for? Perhaps you'll pay more attention to how different formats reproduce your favorite music. Maybe you'll experiment with various listening approaches to find what brings you the most enjoyment. Or perhaps you'll simply appreciate the remarkable technical achievements that make today's musical abundance possible. The next time you stream music, remember what's actually happening. Those perfect-sounding songs are clever approximations, thousands of snapshots stitched together to mimic continuous sound waves. This brilliant technical compromise changed how we experience music forever.